Hi everyone, my name is Vess Rusev and this is episode number 27 of the East Auckland Property Show. Today we're meeting again with Brandon from RFI.
G'day.
Thanks for your time. I know that you have a very packed and busy schedule.
Okay. That's okay, you too.
Doing really well. We'll be in the top 5%, 1%.
I hope it'll be more than top 1%, but hopefully top 5 hopefully. We'll cross the fingers, we'll see.
That's awesome. You're doing a great job, that's why it pays off. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
So today we wanted to discuss or answer a question that we got on one of our videos, and it was Kayla asked us how to go from dead broke to homeowner, to buying a home, to be financially independent so you can take care of your kids and your family. So that's a very broad question.
Yeah.
Probably it's not only financial, also probably lifestyle and so many other things.
Certainly, yeah.
But thinking back of your experience and your knowledge, what would be the best advice from financial perspective for someone who is in trouble?
Yeah.
To get on top of that and just start thinking about buying a property.
Sure thing. I guess it's normally when I sit down with clients who come from in a position where there actually is quite a lot of debt. Even if they already have a property, there are some instances where some clients have an exceptional amount of credit card debt, personal loans, car loans, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And it starts to become quite overwhelming, not just emotionally and mentally, but also financially as well. And in instances like that, we take quite a bit of time to figure out and ascertain what the main reason is why those circumstances end up arising.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm making a generalization, but about 90% of the time it's just because there hasn't been any savings for them. So what happens is unexpected bills will come up, and then they'll need to raise emergency funds. Like they'll need to get they'll need some work done on their teeth. The car goes, something happens with the pet, and there's a vet bill, for instance.
Yeah.
And they can't get to all these bills at once. They start to raise the extra debt. I think that's the first thing. Is some people start from dead broke, which is $0 in the bank account. But then there's also people who start with negative zero. They've got no assets. Maybe they've got the car, but then they've got all the personal loans and all this other credit card debt sitting around that they need to take care of. So I guess the first thing, if someone's starting out, they think that they're dead broke, or if their financial position's quite tricky, the first thing is to talk with someone to figure out if you can change the provider of those loans. So in some circumstances you might have all these other debts, and there might be an opportunity for you to consolidate everything to save on the interest costs, and that will make it a lot easier to start paying those debts off. So that's actually the first thing that you want to do, is see if there are any options out there for you to move that or combine it to make it one easy payment on a lower rate and term, so it makes it easier for you to pay it off. So that's like the first thing that I'd really suggest.
This is if you're starting below
zero. Yeah. And even if you think you're at zero and you've got some loans or anything, credit card, hire purchase, Q card, Gym Visa, finance for whatever, or car loan even, you're still below zero, because if you needed to pay everything off and you sold everything today, you would end up with some money owing perhaps still. It's the classic thing, you buy a car for 30 grand, you drive it off, and by the time you get home it's worth 20. So that's that's reality, is what you probably own in that instance you can't sell to pay it off.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I'd suggest, and then figuring out the strategy to paying the debt. That comes with having the right budget. I guess is the next one, and that's such a broad concept, and I limit it to only really suggesting to clients to start thinking about a meal plan or a food plan. Because if you go into the grocery store with a real firm plan, a real solid strategy in how you're going to prepare and cook all your food, then you don't end up at Burger King, and you don't end up at Subway, and you don't end up buying sushi and all those sorts of things that end up adding quite a bit of money, or end up costing quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
So that's typically the only advice that I really give about a budget, is thinking about food. And then the next step is considering KiwiSaver options as well. Moving back towards the other debt, if it is actually quite overwhelming and you're not able to cover all of your repayments, you can apply for hardship withdrawal of a KiwiSaver if you do have KiwiSaver.
Okay.
So you have to get professional financial advice, from my understanding, to say that, okay, you cannot actually cope in your current circumstances and the best option is to withdraw the KiwiSaver.
Yeah.
So if you get your position reviewed, you might be able to draw that out to pay off those debts. People are very two-minded about this, because obviously KiwiSaver is designed for retirement,
Yes.
and that's what you're trying to get towards, and always making sure no matter what the future's taken care of. But if it's really at the expense of today, then you would really have to sit down with someone and figure out if it is the right thing to do for you. So I'm definitely not saying that that's advice for people who have too much debt, to say today go try and draw it out.
Yeah.
Because you really want to sit with someone to make sure it's the right thing. So I really reiterate that you need to get independent, specific advice around your position on that first. But KiwiSaver is certainly the first step forwards, because when you contribute the minimum 3%, your employer has to as well.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you're getting an extra 3% of your income given to you for free.
Yes.
And it's just building up in a savings account. Well, and then the savings typically will be invested, and the theory is that when you invest money, it continues to snowball and grow. So that's kind of a non-negotiable. If you've taken care of all of your other debts and you're sitting with, now you're at zero, and now you've got some income coming in, you're wanting to put away into KiwiSaver. And you can actually review different KiwiSaver providers too. A lot of people typically will do KiwiSaver with a bank,
Yeah.
but there are options outside of banks as well. Like there are private funds, there's other funds like Simplicity, Juno. So there might be an opportunity for you to sit down with a financial advisor to help you pick which the right KiwiSaver fund would be for you. So yeah, that's where you guys want to really revisit and see if there is any option to get a different kind or a better return in there. And you can pick the different types of funds too. You can have a conservative KiwiSaver that isn't invested in higher risk ventures, and you can have a growth focused fund where the returns are expected to be considerably higher.
Okay.
So that's a way to change it, is where it's invested, where you put it can affect how quickly that grows as well.
So the steps are pay off your debt first.
Yep, 100%.
Then KiwiSaver if you don't have one.
Yep. Sure.
And then what? If if the funds are still not sufficient to for deposit.
Well, then it's my favorite one, is you just got to focus on how you can make more money.
Yeah.
Right. I think that people can often think that it's the hardest thing to do. It's easier to save than it is to make more money, where it's actually the opposite. It's actually easier to make more money than it is to save money in instances like this.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to have that baseline. You're always going to have rent, electricity, phone bills, food, childcare. You're always going to have those expenses, but then you need to figure out a way, okay, anything that you save or anything that you earn above what you're earning today is actually all bankable and savings.
Yeah.
So if you're flat broke and you can't save $1, but you're not losing money on how much you're earning today, in theory, if everything were to stay the same and you could earn another 20 grand, at the end of the year you should have $20,000 in savings after tax.
And it's interesting that I recently sold a property in East Tamaki area, and it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom cross-lease property, and it sold for $440,000.
Okay, wow.
So this can be an option for a family home, if we're talking about, of course, if you're in Auckland or looking for an apartment, probably it could be cheaper than that. But I don't think, especially in Auckland, you can buy something that is much cheaper than that it's in a safe area.
Yeah, I mean the reality is if banks are happy to lend at a 10% deposit at the moment, so it's not, so 20 is like, it's a lot easier to get a loan approved at 20, but if you're going in at 10 and you're finding stuff for 500, which obviously there is stuff for 500,000, we can use 50 as the ballpark. provided that you have started to save in KiwiSaver. Let's say there's two people earning $40,000 each, contributing 3% to KiwiSaver, and then their employers doing 3% as well. So that's 6% of 40,000. So 2,400 from each party. So that's 4,800 of their KiwiSaver automatically being invested. Let's say you don't return anything.
That's 10% of the deposit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you, in theory, you'd have to do that 10 years, but if you can save at a rate of $100 a week, it's going to take you 5 years to be able to put a 50% deposit together.
Yeah.
So that's just from your savings and what you're currently earning, and then you figure out, okay, if I want it quicker, how can I get there? And so now we're in, after starting from less than zero and talking about, okay, maybe you've paid all your debt off, what do you do now? Okay, now you're starting to save. Say if you do that for a year and you've got some KiwiSaver, you do it for a couple of years, you got KiwiSaver, you got some savings, then perhaps you can also go to some family members and see if they will gift you the remaining part of the deposit. So that's the next step as well, is once you've proven that you can take care of your money and you can repay all this debt and you can save money, then someone might be able to give you that last leg up and gift you maybe $20,000 or $30,000. And gifting doesn't necessarily have to mean that they never get the money back. You can put agreements in, and some of our clients have been doing this recently, where family are gifting money to their children, but the family receive that money back if the property sells as well, which is actually starting to become a little bit more common now. So they will gift you 30 grand, so it's yours, but you're going to pay that back to us if this property sells. And you can work that all into an agreement as well. So maybe you only need, in reality, $25,000 to buy a $500,000 property if that other option is available to you too. And
this is if we're discussing Auckland. If we're discussing smaller cities or
for sure,
it would definitely a little bit easier.
Considerably, for sure. I mean, if you can look down the line, you can find properties. If anyone's looking in areas like New Plymouth, Palmerston North, anywhere around the Hawke's Bay region, even some parts of the Waikato, buying for say around that $300,000 to $400,000 mark. Let's say if you can land at 350, that's 35 grand. And the loan at that point, because interest rates are so low at the moment, those loans are relatively cheap. And you can actually, it's starting to become quite affordable. That's sort of the repayments on say a 30-year mortgage term. So it's really, those are the stages that you go through as you figure out, okay, how much do I owe? How can I pay it? Can I make it cheaper? All right, now I'm going to work on my budget and figure out my income, my expenses. How can I save quicker? By reviewing my KiwiSaver and figuring out a good saving strategy. And then once you've done that for a little bit and you've committed to it, you're able to think about, okay, is there anyone around me who could maybe gift me that money?
And it's a good example because you purchased your first property out of Auckland, right? That's great.
Exactly.
It was Hamilton.
That's right, And so for me, it was always, when I went through that process, I thought to myself, well, how can I make more money? Because I was studying at university. So I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to stack shelves. And I just knew, okay, I'm going to just get a 10% deposit. So I knew I was saving $400 a week. After I would earn 500. I was lucky enough to put away, I would earn 400. I was lucky enough to put away 300 every week. I'd spend 100 on my gas, my basketball, and like food related costs as well. So I knew every Wednesday. This was the other thing as well, is some people, they say that they you should set up an automatic payment to save money. I preferred to do it manually because every time I would see it, I would transfer the money over and I would say, okay, I've earned this money, and it made me feel good being able to transfer into the savings every week. So if you aren't under as much pressure and you don't have as much, you're not constricted for time, doing that's a really cool exercise. And so I just knew, okay, great, in a year, if it's 50 weeks, 15 grand, so 2 years would give me 30 grand, which is what I had. And then it was time to go and revisit with a 10% deposit. So, and you can look outside of Auckland. We've got a lot of clients who are Auckland, who are moving out of Auckland and transferring to different parts of their working of the same company that they're
Yeah.
working for, or just enjoying a different lifestyle, you know.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So, if anyone has a question that it's related to what we discussed, can they just send you an
100%.
email or give you a call?
Yeah, 100%.
Just for advice, and that advice is free, right? You don't.
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't charge for any of the advice, and it's easy for me. I love answering emails like that. It's so easy for me to do. So you can put together an email, and then we can even have a phone conversation at some point, and just let me know a little bit about what it is that you guys might want to chat about, and I'm real open to hearing it, and we can figure out a way. Just cool. You do this, it could be something that, you know, sets you on the right track. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. I think the video went a little bit longer than I expected, but hopefully it's going to be very helpful. It's very often that people are searching for advice when they're buying their first property.
Yeah.
That's why one of the videos that we have it has the most views and was the 7 most common mistakes when you're buying a property.
Yeah.
So people are looking for that. So hopefully this video will be